So today I want to talk about fear. I covered in day one of Courage to Believe devotional, but I wanted to cover fear from the perspective of escaping survival mode, trusting God's ongoing provision. And this is for solo moms, right? And I wanted to read to you a question that solo moms are asking, that you're asking, because in this day and age, when times are so uncertain, when you wake up and have every day there's something else that drives a blow towards your bank account, right? One question is, how can I stretch a single income to cover rising food and housing costs? And before I get to the micro suggestions and solutions, I want to deal with the macro of this fear, because financial burden, financial uncertainty often drives us to breed fear. It breeds fear in our lives, right? There's a financial pressure always seems to breed fear. We're fearful about the present, we're fearful about the future, we don't know where we're gonna get, how we're gonna pay for something else, we don't know if the job will last. There's so much uncertainty, and that breeds fear. And I want to talk not just about that, but also about how this fear, this overwhelming fear, because we have people that we're responsible for, how it can drive us to make decisions we often regret later. So I wanna highlight that I'm not talking about this in abstract. This isn't theory for me. This is a life I've lived. I've lived in a lot of fear. When my husband walked out and me and our 2 and 4 year old, I was in a panic. I was it was just horrible because I life suddenly shifted suddenly, because sometimes it's not the fact that you're a solo mom or you've been left to be a solo mom. Sometimes it's that it wasn't the plan you had, and then all of a sudden somebody changed the plan without telling you, right? And even if they told you, even if you were expecting it, it's still a massive shift that invoke a lot of fear, especially when you look at those lovely children in front of you needing your guidance, needing your leadership, needing you to provide and take care of them, right? You can relate, right? So I want to share one story that will help you understand that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to fear and when it comes to trusting God. Because this might sound like hyperbole or trying to just tell you, oh, people say, go pray about it. This is not, oh, pray about it. This is lived experience. So it was the height of the financial crisis. And I was a real estate agent at the time. I had been a licensed insurance agent. And life had gotten hard because everybody was panicking and nobody was buying, because it was the height of the financial crisis. The mortgage business was busted. So my livelihood dried up overnight because people didn't want to, if they had the money to spend, they didn't want to spend it because nobody knew what was coming. And if you know anything about the financial crisis, you lived through it. It was a financial tsunami of epic proportion, and a lot of companies went under, a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of things happened. But right in the middle of that, I packed up everything except what could hold in my 2001 Toyota Camry. I put my two youngest son in it, sheets, blankets, pillows, the basics. And I drove 900 miles to New York City from Atlanta to accept a job that was only guaranteed for 2 weeks. And I did that not because I was crazy, or maybe I was crazy, But because I felt directed by God, I had tried to solve the to bring a solution to the problem myself out of fear. I wanted to go to Florida because it was hot and the kids would be safer there and all this stuff. And I ended up obeying the voice of God and driving all that way to accept this 2 week job. And the night before I drove off, I didn't even know where I was going to live. I've never lived in New York. I visited it, but I've never lived there. And so it was obedience, and it was, I'm going to tell you, I had no choice. I had to follow God's lead in that situation. So when I am asking you to take this chance on God, I am not just, it's not something I read or heard about. It's something I've experienced. And a lot of people thought I was either stupid, losing my mind, or the stress was getting to me. Here I was driving to New York City and giving away all my stuff, years of stuff I'd accumulated. And so I wanted you to just get a feel for this experience that I've lived. And I drove the journey from Atlanta to Queens should have taken me about 12 hours. It took me 22 hours driving from 6:30 a.m. Sunday morning to I believe it was 3:30 Monday morning. But God was throughout it with me. He was in it with me. And I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I had those two boys in the back of the car, and I was driving, and it was 2007, no GPS. Okay? Driving, if you've ever driven in a big city, especially a city like New York City, I got lost on those highways. You know, the BQE, because I was driving, I didn't know where I was going. I was just driving. And thankfully, I had gotten a room to rent the night before, and my new landlord, he called me and stayed on the phone with me and made sure that I got to his place. So I am talking about something I know about, right? So I'm going to ask you to bear with me as you picture that, you imagine that, right? I was a mom, divorced mom with these two little boys. And that's what I did, because I couldn't live the way I was living anymore. I couldn't live in fear anymore. And yeah, I was a bit scared, but I also trusted God, right? So I want you to understand that God cares about you. He sees you. He knows what you're going through. And He's waiting for you to trust Him. It's not only about asking God for things. He's waiting for you to trust Him, to turn it all over to Him. Make it His responsibility to take care of you and your children, because that's what I did. Before I drove to New York City, before all of that came about, I dedicated those two boys at church. So because the fear was so overwhelming, the panic and the constant worry was driving me mad. And I realized I wasn't gonna be able to do it on my own. I wasn't this strong black single mom. I wasn't. And so I knew that God would help me. And I trusted Him to. And He did. Because that job that 2-week job that I drove to New York City for actually started out as 3 days. So it was a 3-day job at first. Then they extended it to 2 weeks. I went back to Atlanta with free tickets. I didn't pay for any of those tickets. And I talk about that in other parts of my podcast. And I went back to to Atlanta Friday night, packed up everything, gave everything away Saturday, drove out Sunday morning. That was the kind of madness I was living under. And that job lasted 17 months. Okay? And this is to tell you that God doesn't just say, okay, here it is. You go and help yourself, and you're good. You're good on your own now. He stays with you. He stayed with me, right? He protected me. He cared. My kids we were all new to New York City. My bus ride, train ride to work was 2 hours or more because I lived in Queens, in Middle Queens, and I had to go to work on Wall Street. And I had to leave them alone in their house on their own. And I was scared to death. I was scared at work, and it was intense. But God. But so after 17 months, still the financial crisis, it wasn't a 1-year thing. It was a multi-year fiasco, catastrophe. Lots of banks went under. Lots of investment firms went under. And I worked for an investment firm. 17 months in, I was laid off. And that probably should give me a sad face, right? But it didn't. Because that 17 months earned me a severance package. It earned me unemployment insurance. I was out of work for 3 months. And during that time, I didn't want for nothing. My landlord didn't even know I wasn't working because I had everything I needed. All from obeying God to move 900 miles for a 2-week job. Right? And I'm not special. It can happen to anyone. Right? But you have to accept that He will help you. Right? Because He says it. And Isaiah 41:10 says, do not be afraid. Right? I'm going to read it to you because I really want you to get this. I want you to get the words. A lot of times we listen to other people. We listen to what they say. We listen to people quoting the Bible. But it's always, always, always better if we read it for ourselves. And that's why I always, always want to read it. And that way you know what it says for yourself. And even with me reading it, I encourage you to go read it. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That's Isaiah 41:10. So that's God's promise. And He's not promising something that He's guessing about, because He knows everything. And He's not promising you something and later on He pulls the rug from under you. If you accept His promise and embrace Him, that, life's not perfect. Life's not going to be perfect. But it's like, I don't know what this feels like, but it's just if your father was a good father, a provider, a loving, caring father, and a protector, then you know what I'm talking about. That's God. Right? So the fear we have sometimes, even when we're in the middle of things going okay, sometimes we can be fearful as well, right? When I was laid off, the day I was laid off, we were allowed to just, because I wasn't the only one laid off, we were allowed to stay, and, say goodbye, hang around. And while I was there, I called a friend of mine. I was telling them that, I'm out of a job and, this is it. And then we continued the conversation and we were laughing and joking and telling jokes. And then he stopped and said, "Were you telling me the truth?" And I'm like, "Truth about what?" And he said, "Were you really laid off?" And I said, "Yeah, why would I lie about something like that?" And he said, "Because you're laughing and joking." And the reason I was able to laugh and joke about not about being let go, but even in the middle of being let go, was because I already thought in my mind, if God brought me all the way here and a 3-day job turned into a 17-month job with salary and benefits, why am I worried? I was calm. I felt a peace about everything. And when I got that severance and realized I could apply for unemployment, I'm like, God's got me. Right? And wouldn't you know, he didn't stop there though. About 3 months later, because I guess he thought I needed a break, and that was the 3 months break. 3 months later, I got an email from an ex-manager at the same firm. This person is hiring. Send your resume if you're still looking for work. And the rest is history. I went into the interview, I got the job. A couple months later, I got a permanent position, beat out somebody with an MBA who thought she was smarter than I was. And I was at that job I was at that same company as the 3-day job, the same company, almost 14 years. God provides when you trust him. And that is the macro of this talk. And that is the macro answer to how do I provide for my family when everything is expensive. I can't afford gas to put in my car to drive to work. I can't afford daycare. There's no money left for proper food for myself and my children. That's the macro answer, is that do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Remember that. This isn't a man who always lies and telling stories and can't back up what he promised. This is God. And I'm encouraging you to trust him. Open your heart and trust him. If you've never been to church, don't worry about it. Just trust God. If you've been to church and you backslide, don't worry about it. Just trust God. Trust God. Now, for some practical tips, right? First, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. And if you're able to, I would encourage you to grab a notebook and write the answers, write the questions, write the answers. If you're fearful today, ask yourself, what are you fearful about? Are you fearful of losing what you already have? Maybe the shelter, your roof over your head, or your job? Are you afraid of not having enough money to pay for you and your family's bills? Are you afraid because you realize that you cannot do it alone? There is one more thing that I forgot to mention. One of the way fear drives is by forcing us to make decisions that we often regret. For me, it was my 2 youngest ones. They were young, I was struggling, and someone wanted to marry me, and I said yes, not because I thought it was the best thing, but because I thought it was the best thing for my children. And that's not the way life works. And that was not a good thing for me to do because I was fearful I couldn't take care of my children. And that's one way fear drives you, right? The scarcity and the scarcity mindset, and you're not going to be able to do it, right? And so if you could grab a notebook and write an answer, do a little bit of a self-reflection and write those answers down. Why are you fearful? What's the exact thing that's making you fearful? Right? And write those answers down. Then the other thing I would like to say is that because you have those questions and pigeonhole the answer, what it is you're fearful of. So if you think if it's because you don't have enough money to moving forward pay your bills, what can you do to help yourself in that situation? Of course you can depend on God and that you'll be doing that, but you're also going to ask God to lead you to find ways to make more money if that's what you need, or to help you to get a pay increase or a better job, or maybe he's leading you towards finding another career, maybe starting a business. But practically, like right now, there are lots of agencies that are available that you may be able to tap into for some supplemental grocery. And some churches have food pantry. There's the one thing I always encourage you, because your mindset is very important during this time, is if you would if you feel like you need somebody to talk to, is do several things. Don't just do one thing. Do what works for you. Your job, if they have benefits, may have what's called employee assistance program, and they usually have like 5 or 6 free sessions where you can see a therapist. There are other professionals you could see as well, but for this moment I'm encouraging you, if you need counseling, that and your job has that benefit, a lot of companies have it, especially if it's a larger company. That's something I utilized while I was going through, right? Therapy was one of the best things I ever did. The other thing you could do is the YMCA. If you're in the US, the YMCA sometimes has these free or low cost mental health programs where you could go in and talk to somebody. I also encourage you to find a mentor. I'm a mentor. I've lived through it and I can talk you through it. I'm also a coach. I can help you build a plan, a framework for where you want to move forward, right? And my coaching is Christ-centered. I don't do anything on my own because I can't help you, but God can. And I consider myself doing what God has empowered me to do, and that is helping solo moms work through their situation, going from the survival mode to a life of transformation. So that's the other thing you could do, is find the help that's available, the free help that's available to you. In getting extra work, there are a couple of ways that may or may not work for you. It depends on your situation, and you'll know your situation. I'm going to put a link below about I have an email that I subscribe to about remote work, different type of remote work that you could do. Some of them is you could do it from anywhere in the world. So it may help you if your desire is to spend more time at home with your children. that may be something for you. So that's a resource I want to put in the link below. The other thing I would I would recommend is that same notebook, go through and see what you would like to be doing. I remember when I was working full time, not this last job, but before, I used to daydream about what I wanted to do. And then I would write a business plan. And one of the things I wanted to do was open a daycare. And I have pages and pages on a yellow legal pad of how that was going to work. And I read somewhere about somebody, a woman, actually I think it was a single mom as well, who couldn't afford daycare for her children. I can relate to that. So what she wanted to do was to find ways to have her child home. She didn't have to pay for daycare, but also get a few other kids in, and so other mothers wouldn't have to pay the exorbitant daycare fees. And then she had a little side hustle or a business to help pay for her family's bills. And and so that's one way you could do it. Of course, you have to make sure that you follow the rules and regulations, and hopefully it's not too prohibitive for you to do that. There are some countries where daycare is pittance. I think in Quebec it's like $10 a month or something. That's just amazing. But you can find ways to help to earn extra income. One other way, there was somebody who had contacted me, and I I suggested, because I wanted to find out what they did, and she said she loved beauty, she was experienced in beauty, and she went to school for beauty and hair. And I said to her, because she had her children and she needed to pay for school fees or something like that. And I suggested, because she was in another country and I kind of had an idea of what the situation was, but she was online, right? And I suggested to her that she go to Canva. Canva is free to use, and created some to-do lists, some worksheets, some guidebooks, like guide sheets, and help women to show them how to apply their makeup. I sometimes wear makeup. I have no clue what I'm doing. I just put it on and hope it works. And how to fix the hair, what to use in the hair, do those things, and put them on Etsy or Facebook or whatever group you're into. There's a lot of link in bio apps, like Linktree is one of them, where you could just create a link to your social media and you could post your stuff on social media, or about your stuff on social media, and those things you can create in Canva, again, for free. I am trying not to give you anything that you have to spend a lot of money on, if anything at all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together. This is actually impromptu. It's just something I thought about while I'm doing this. While I'm giving you the big picture, I should probably give you some actionable steps, right? So I'm going to create a sheet with all this that I'm talking about, and hopefully it will help you to start to think. Even if none of them work for you, it will help you to start to think. So figure out what you love to do, or what you'd love to do. Maybe you can knit or crochet. Maybe you can paint or draw or take photographs. All these things are being sold online, you know. And maybe you can start a YouTube channel about your cat, or, I don't believe in putting my kids online, but some people do that. But there are all kinds of things you could do and talk about. Maybe you could start a YouTube channel about what you know and want to teach to people. And your phone, you don't have to pay any money. That's the beauty of YouTube. Pick up your phone, record on your phone, talk about what you want to talk. It doesn't even have to be long, 2 or 3 minutes tops. And help people. Maybe you love to cook a certain type of food. Maybe you are from an ethnic minority and your food is the bomb, like Jamaican food or something like that. And instructions, help people and you will be okay. So I've been talking long enough, but I wanted to give you an idea of things you could do to help you move forward. Once you determine what it is you're afraid of, and what you decide what you could do about it, if you if you need the money, and what your skills are, and how you could market those skills. I appreciate you listening and watching, and I really appreciate you because you're doing an amazing job, but you don't have to do it alone. That's the thing. So if you need a community, um, follow me. I'm always trying to get on and talk to people and answer your questions. Just let me know what you're thinking about, how you think I could help you, and I'll be happy to. And as always, God is in charge. God sees you and He loves you. I appreciate you. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me at jrosemarie.com or at Solomon's Talk on Instagram. And don't forget, I talked about fear, which is day one of Courage to Believe 21-Day Christian Devotional for Single Moms. And that book is my biblical autobiography. It's all my stories in there, all my stuff is in there. And I had to do that because I didn't think I could write a book about God without showing how merciful He has been to me. Thank you. So grab a copy, and this is what I was about to say. Grab a copy. It's on Amazon as an ebook. You can download the free Kindle app, and the purchase price is about $6.99, $3.99, $6.99, depending on where you are and whether they're running a promotion on it. Or you could get the the softback, paperback, at J Rosemarie at solomom's.store. Solomom's Talk, that store. Don't know my own store. Solomom's Talk, that store. And there I have a lot of free downloads. I have day one free. This is not day one. This is actually talking about day one. I have that free, both in audio and a PDF. And I've also created a couple of meditation, and I think those freebies will help you. So to ground you a bit and help you start to thinking in a new way of thinking. Right? Thank you.